Hi, I'm John Harper, owner of Sky Dogs Family Dog Park. I'm here today to sadly announce the closing of my business. We will be closing on June 29th, Sunday, this Sunday coming up at 7:30. This will be the last day that Sky Dogs is open. Now, before I get into the details of why I'm closing the park, I first want to let our members know, my active members know, that I will be prorating your contracts and reimbursing your memberships, what's left of them. And I don't feel like it's your fault that I'm closing the park. It's definitely not your fault that I'm closing the park, and I feel like it's the right thing to do. So I want to make sure you guys understand that. Secondly, I want to thank you very, very much for all the members and all the guests who visited my park, and all my family and friends who helped support me and just help this try to make this place a special venue here in the Low Country. And so wholeheartedly thank you all for your support and your help. And I guarantee you I will open up another Sky Dogs Family Dog Park eventually. I just don't know where. I can only guarantee you it's not going to be in Charleston County. Okay? And so now I'm going to get into the reasons why I'm closing the dog park. And it may be getting kind of confusing for you, so I'm going to try to do a recap at the end just so we all understand what's going on here. So for those of you who don't understand how it works, when you open up a business in any county basically, and here in Charleston County, you have to go before a site plan committee. Now this site plan committee is going to look at your business, and when you go there for your first meeting, you sit down at a table and there's probably 7 or 8 people in the room with you. Now these are representatives from different departments within Charleston County. Now to open up a business, you have to make sure that you please all these different departments. They're going to look at your business. They're going to give you a list of things that you have to meet, requirements that you have to meet in order to open up your business. Once you've met these requirements, they sign off on your business and they let you open up your business. Well, on day one, our first meeting, I went to them, I sat down at the table. Now one of the departments asked me on day one, when it rains, what happens to the piles of dog poo that are laying on the ground? And I said, well, first of all, we're a private business. I said, we're going to pick them up. The owners are going to pick them up. I said, but most importantly, when it rains, dog poo does not move across the ground. And I said, but I guess if it rains and breaks up, it's going to wash into the ground or go into the drainage pond, just like my competition, James Island and Wanamaker parks do, dog parks do. And they all looked at each other, and they turned back and looked at me, and they said, well, we can't let you do that. And my obvious next question was, well, why not? How are Charleston County parks allowed to let dogs swim in a drainage pond, and you guys are stopping me from letting dogs swim in a drainage pond? And so their two main concerns to me were that A, the feces into the drainage pond would then go into the Charleston County system, sewage system, the water system supply. And then second of all, their major concern was that the dogs would be swimming in a drainage pond that had dog feces in it. So again, I went back and I asked them, well, how's Charleston County doing it? And they said they didn't know. And they said that Charleston County parks were governed by the state of South Carolina. So I asked them then which state department governs them, got no answer. All right, and so the result of this was me having to please them. What they said I had to do was fence off this pond area. So I have this big drainage pond with this huge pipe system already in place, ready to be used, what I thought was ready to be used. So the first time Charleston County said it was environmental concerns is the reason that we can't have water in the pond. So after I opened, several months, 4, 5, 6 months later, I got back on my feet. I was able to go back into Charleston County again, but before I did, I had tracked down the civil engineer who had drawn the pond, the blueprints to the pond and the pipe system. So I had gotten these blueprints, learned more about the situation. So I went back in there for round 2. I tried to figure out what I could do if these plans changed anything, and obviously they did change things, and what they changed were they now are no longer concerned with environmental concerns. I had raised so much cane about why the state was allowing dogs to swim in a drainage pond and I wasn't, that I guess they got tired of hearing about it. So they jumped ship. They no longer are now talking about environmental concerns. Their only focus now is based on a business plan from 1999. From 15 years ago, they're holding me to plans from a business plan that supposedly existed in 1999. Now obviously I'm standing on the site where this business supposedly took place. Now, the business never developed. After the pond and the pipe was put in, my landlord decided not to follow through with the business plan. So the business plan never existed. It was never turned into Charleston County. And Charleston County is holding me to business plans from 1999. So now they have gotten rid of environmental concerns, and they were only concerned with how I would affect the drainage of the property based on what I wanted to do to the pond. And what I wanted to do was put water in it and put a 40-foot dock for dock diving, right? Big event. And so they said I had to hire a civil engineer to draw up these plans. Again, this is $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 worth of work they wanted me to do from a civil engineer, just in order to prove to them that I would not affect the land that it was draining in. So this is round two now. This is now the reasons I can't put water in the pond. So I go back to them a few months later, and now I hire a civil engineer this time to call and talk to them in person to find out exactly what they wanted me to do in order to meet these business plan requirements, to prove to them that I'm not going to affect the drainage of the property. So now I talked to a civil engineer firm that had been in business over 15 years. They knew everybody down at Charleston County. So 2 weeks after this civil engineer firm called and requested a phone call, 2 weeks later Charleston County returns our phone call. So he's talking to this Charleston County representative, and he's asking him, how can you hold John to a business plan that's 15 years old and to a business plan that doesn't exist? He didn't answer. It's just dead air. Again, he asked, how can you hold John to a plan from 1999 that doesn't exist? Again, he doesn't answer. So he asked the guy, why can't John resubmit a new site plan for his business to the business, and let's use this and go off of that? Again, he responded and said that he was holding us to the site plan in the drainage pond, to the way the drainage pond was built, to this business plan from 1999 that never existed. Now that sounds crazy, right? So my civil engineer, he tells me on the phone conversation with them, he goes, okay, Charleston County, he goes, if you're going to hold John to these plans, produce these plans for us, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to draw up these plans for John, and we're going to get the ball rolling. So Charleston County agrees, and Charleston County representative said, give us 2 days. So 2 days go by, no phone call. 2 weeks go by, no phone call. I start calling and leaving messages for this gentleman to return my phone calls. He does not. I request a meeting. I don't get a phone call back. I go down there in person. I walk up at the desk. I walk in there, happen to run into another man in this department. He takes me back there to his desk and sits me down. I immediately tell him, so-and-so told me he was getting this paperwork. So-and-so told me he would call me back in 2 days. Now it's been 4 weeks. Nobody's returning my phone calls. Can you give me any idea of what's going on? And he goes, yeah, John, I'm familiar with your case. He goes, where you're at now is you have to meet retention pond requirements. And I said, wait a minute, retention pond requirements? This is the first thing I've heard about retention pond requirements. I said, what about A, the environmental concerns that you no longer talk about? I said, B, what about these drainage pond situations that you want me to prove? The last thing that y'all said y'all wanted me to do was prove that any changes to the ground were not going to affect the drainage of the property. And now we're not talking about that. Now you're talking about retention pond requirements. So I don't even know what those are. And so I asked him what happened to these other things, and no answer. He goes, John, this is what you need to focus on. This is where we're at. You need to meet retention pond requirements. So then I let him know that over the last few months I had done more digging, and I'd done more researching, and I've talked to more people. And I discovered that in 1999 I talked to a human being who was very familiar, actually worked on the project of building this pond and this pipe system in place. And he informed me that in 1999 Charleston County informed my landlord that the pipe was put in without permits and without being inspected. And that in 1999 Charleston County needed my landlord to dig up the pipe and have the pipe inspected before the pipe can be used. Now this is critical information. So I go straight back down to Charleston County. I meet with the guy at the desk, and I'm telling this guy at the desk now that this information exists. And he goes, oh. And I said, where are the notes from business plans from 1999? He tells me that they're in a dusty box in a basement down at the building. And I said, well, can I go get them? He goes, no, I have to go get them. I said, well, it's very important to me that I find out. I said, because I can't understand how Charleston County, if this story is true, I don't know if it's true. If Charleston County in 1999 deemed a pond and a pipe could not be used unless it was inspected, how can 15 years later Charleston County tell me I can use the pond if I meet retention pond requirements? And he just looked at me and he said, John, this is what you need to do. You need to focus on this. So confusing as it may seem, I say, okay. So I go back. I leave the office, I go back, I contact the civil engineer office. He informs me that what they want me to do, meeting these retention pond requirements, are going to cost me about $15,000 to $20,000 in order to do this. So now Charleston County has changed 3 times on me the reason why I can't put water in my pond. They also now refuse to answer why they did these things to me. So I'm sitting here and I write them an email. Now I'm beyond mad. I want somebody to answer me. So I put this in writing now, and I ask all these questions in writing, and I ask questions like, where did the environmental concerns go to? How come I'm not concerned about those? How come you guys are not concerned about those? What guidelines did you guys hold me to? Environmental guidelines did you hold me to that prevented me from allowing dogs to swim in a drainage pond? And also, which state department governs Charleston County parks? Which state department would I contact to find out which rules and guidelines that they used in order to allow dogs to swim in a drainage pond? So it gets confusing, right? And so again, these questions are not answered. They refuse to answer these questions. I go on to ask them, how come you changed to holding me to restrictions from a business plan, drainage ponds, to a business plan that from 1999 is 15 years old that never existed? And they don't answer me that. So then I ask them, how can you change it to now that I need to meet retention ponds? There's no environmental concerns. There's no drainage property concerns. Now there's only meet retention pond requirements, which will cost me $15,000 to $20,000 in order to meet. They want me to do soil samples, test samples of dirt. And I'm like, so my options are now, everybody. So let me recap this. Let me try to figure out through you guys where I'm at. So explain it to you. Charleston County wants me to spend $15,000 to $20,000 to meet retention pond requirements. But if I do that, isn't it possible that 2 weeks later the environmental department comes in here and closes me down because I am breaking environmental concerns? Now these are the same environmental concerns that they shut me down with from the beginning, but now they don't exist. So now they're saying if I meet these retention pond requirements, that these environmental concerns go away? I don't believe that, and they won't answer the question. So I'm not going to spend this money on a retention pond to meet these retention pond requirements when the environmental department can come in here and shut me down 2 weeks later. And don't forget about this mysterious rumor about this meeting in 1999. Did Charleston County say that the pipe could not be used unless it was inspected? Because that's what I hear. So 15 years later they tell me I can use the pipe? So my question to them in writing was, if I do this, if I spend the $15,000 to $20,000 and meet your retention pond requirements, and then we drain the pond and we put all this water in the pipe system, and the pipe breaks and it floods these homes. The pipe, by the way, goes in front of about 4 or 5 houses. And I said, if it breaks and it floods these homes, who's responsible? Is it me? Is it my landlord? Or is it Charleston County? They didn't answer me. So again, my back is against the wall. They're holding to me these rules and guidelines that they won't explain how we got to where we are. They won't explain to me if I meet these, if I spend this money, if I meet these retention pond requirements, am I safe from environmental concerns that you shut me down with from the beginning? So there's too many red flags. They won't answer me now. There's something very, very wrong with what they've done. They've held me to rules and guidelines that they A, won't explain, they B, are letting county dog parks allow dogs to do. It's just crazy. It's crazy where we're at right now. And the sad thing is this is a government agency who's in place to help people like me. Here I am trying to do something special, to open a unique venue here in the Low Country. I mean, this place could have been special if we would have had that pond and a 40-foot dock diving. We would have had the only dock diving in the state of South Carolina. We would have had the only 2-day tournaments once a month, 12 months out of the year, grand championship with all the winners competing at the end of the year. We would have had the only place that you could safely practice dock diving. This would have been a great place, a great little venue to have in South Carolina, in the Low Country. But all that's been squeezed out by Charleston County. And there's nobody I can go to. There's nobody in Charleston County I can go to hold these people accountable, because I've already been to the top. I've emailed the people at the top. So I have no idea where to go from here. But I know that I'm just spinning my wheels. You guys know, if you've gotten to know me, you know I'm a big fan of the Shark Tank, the reality show Shark Tank. And one of the billionaires up there, Mr. Wonderful, he says that after a business has been open after 3 years, if this business isn't growing, if it's not evolving, if it's not profiting after 3 years, it's just a hobby. And I promise you, I do not work 7 days a week, 14 hours a day on this business to be a hobby. I can't evolve. I can't move forward without water in the pond. It's useless. So there's no reason for me to sit here and spin my wheels. Let me give you an idea about my numbers of how they're going. So 7 months out of the year, we've grown to now over 1,000 people a week. That's 500 people during Tuesday through Friday, open 7 hours a day, and that's Saturday and Sunday, another 500 people. So that's 1,000 people we have coming in here, barring that we have good weather, every week for 7 months. And then I hit 5 months of low country heat, right? 5 months of 110-degree humidity. I'm at a dog park. I have no water, and about 40 of my shade trees are in this fenced-off pond area. So now my shade's limited, my water's gone, and my numbers dropped by over 70%. Now I average less than 300 people a week. I went from over 1,000 people a week for 7 months to dropping under 300 people a week for 5 months. It's ridiculous. I cannot survive this way. I can, but I'm not. I'm not going to sit here and spin my wheels and make profit and make money for 7 months and then spend that to stay open to get by for the 5 months that my numbers drop. I know my concept works. I'm like any other businessman. I realize that a business owner, we know that we can't please everybody, but I understand that completely. But the overwhelming amount of people who came in here loved my concept. They might not have loved my design, they might not have loved the music I played, they might not have liked me for whatever reasons, but they loved my concept. The concept works, and this was a good concept to have right here in the Low Country. So something did good come out of all of this, and that is that I did provide proof of concept. I know that this concept works. I'm just not in the right county, and I'm damn sure not in the right location. All right? So with that said, I want to thank everybody one more time for everything that you've done in supporting me. And there's one more thing you guys can do. Now, I'm not going to get any answers because they're going lockdown. Charleston County is not going to answer me. You guys can complain all you want to Charleston County. They're not going to answer you. But what I figure you can do is the voice of the Low Country can speak out. You guys have a right to know whether state parks are safe for your dogs to swim in, because there has to be some environmental concerns that they're overlooking, that they're turning a blind eye to. So if Charleston County wants to point the finger and say it's the state's responsibility, then you, the people who pay money to go to James Island and the Wanamaker dog parks, have a right. You guys have a right to know if the dog ponds, if those drainage ponds are safe. Now, they're not going to answer you why they shut me down and why they're allowing you guys to swim in dogs. But what they should answer is what they're doing to treat the ponds, these drainage ponds, in the state parks. You remember that James Island drainage pond is where campers fish and eat the fish out of. They're where kayakers swim in. These are where dogs swim in. This is where dog feces go, and this drainage pond goes right into Charleston County sewage system. These are all concerns that you guys, as Charleston County, as citizens of the Low Country, have a right to know. If you love dogs, and then speak up. And what I suggest you guys do is you bombard Mayor Riley, Governor Haley, bombard them with emails. Bombard Governor Haley to find out why state parks allow dogs to swim in drainage ponds and why there are no environmental concerns, and are your dogs safe? Charleston County is going to have to answer to the public. It's up to you guys to ask the questions. They're done with me. I guarantee you I'm public enemy #1 when it comes to Charleston County. But you guys have a choice. If you like my park, Sky Dogs Family Dog Park, if you enjoyed coming here, then you think it's unfair the way I've been treated, then speak up. Voice your opinion. You can call the news channels, Channels 2, Channel 4, Channel 5, Channel 24. Ask them to do a report. Are dogs safe swimming in state parks? It's a great question, because I want to know the answer. And if they'll answer those, then they're going to give me a lot of answers to what I need to know. Okay? So if you guys are upset that I'm closing the park, and as upset as I am that I'm closing the park, because I have controlled everything that I can control, and that is I've taken it to the top. I don't know who holds people in Charleston County accountable? Who holds people in Charleston County accountable who these people refuse to answer my emails, refuse to return my phone calls? Who do I go to? Do you know why they can get away with this stuff? Because they can. It's about accountability. It's about accountability at the top in Charleston County. And the people at the top, they know who I am. They know that I've been raising Cain and I have been the squeaky wheel. They're done with me. But you people, the voice of the low country,